Wicked. So, yeah, Sunday market breakdown. So, basically, going to be looking at quite a lot of commitment across the board. Looking for a little bit of a larger flags on the end pairs. USD CAD is shaping up pretty well. Hopefully, we get that free touch ascending. And the wild cards obviously need a little bit of time to materialize, especially EA, which is one I've been eyeing up. I think it needs a little bit more time, but I think when they all do hit that sort of sweet spot, they're going to definitely commit. I've got two commodities on silver and gold. And I've also got on USD30 and Indice. I think they're all primed to be moving in a very, very good way. I think the way the trends have kind of structured themselves, we're definitely in that continuation phase across the board for a lot of these pairs. USD30, I'm looking for that reversal. However, knowing that with the momentum that we have, we can push up and go a lot further. But that head and shoulders is looking prime as well. So, that's something that I'm going to be obviously covering in this video. But more so, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff happening this week. So I'm going to jump straight into it and knuckle down on these pairs. So starting off with the DXY. So DXY has been committing pretty nicely actually on the higher time frame. So what I do like about it is that even though we haven't tapped into any sort of major high value area, we've basically bypassed a lot of this. We've pushed above this inflection point and pulled back in now. As you can see, we've pulled back in with commitment. Drilling down onto the daily, there is definitely this head and shoulders feel, which I think would be insane for DXY, because if we get that commitment, definitely I think a lot of eyes will be on Euro, USD, and gold, and a few commodities, because we're going to be seeing some real good downtrend movement. Hopefully, we might even get impulsive move like this. So definitely it's just a reminder that there's no need to FOMO, because when you get moves like this, there's always the potential that we could get something like this and then meet with this low. So that's something that I'm really, really interested in seeing. So that's a larger forecast, which I think plays out pretty well with the left shoulder, head, right shoulder. I think it's just a matter of being patient, but I don't think it's going to come in its cleanest form. It's not going to be as clean as this 1, 2, 3 I've drawn. However, it's possible, but we might get something as steep as we had over here. So, just keeping that in mind, that that's a possibility. But at the moment, if we just get a little bit granular and just look at what we're actually dealing with, right now we've had like a solid push down. We're creating sort of flagging zone here, and then there's a potential that we could just squeeze low, come to the bottom here before we probably test this low and then push back up. But just looking at the DXY and how it's formed, I think there's massive potential on the table here right now, and we could just commit and sell off. So we don't have to there's nowhere that it says that we have to meet with this left shoulder. We can just continue, create something a little bit larger over here and sell off, or we can even come down here before we come back up. So a few variations, but I am definitely eyes on the short at the moment with this momentum, and definitely looking at the DXY very carefully, because we are in a very good area. But this time next week we might even see the DXY up here somewhere, and then playing out to get to this forecast. Obviously the flag doesn't have to be as large as this, it can be a lot steeper, as I said. So usually when flags are a bit steeper, they tend to move a lot quicker than these larger flags forming. So definitely going to keep my eyes on DXY. I think DXY has a lot going on at the moment. Still looking at that short play. I don't think that this is the cleanest of structures neither, but I think there is a possibility in there. I wouldn't be taking any sort of trade on the DXY, of course, especially a trade like this, but I'd be more so looking at this. If it's going to commit, we'll probably get a push back up, just fill that wick, kind of tap into that zone, push back down, create a flag, and then continue, and then we'll have that in line with Euro USD hopefully. So that's basically. Next one I'm looking at is on my watch list. It's USD Yen. I think USD Yen is phenomenal at the moment. If we just go down to top-down analysis and we see how prices basically moved, we can see that we've tapped into this override zone. So as we can see, we had the override zone here. And we tapped into it and we've just pulled back down pretty aggressively. Now, this is a sort of price action that I'd like to see on this particular pair, because usually when we do get certain commitment, we do get these follow-up commitments which are phenomenal. So a lot of percentage can be banked. I mean, analyzing this, there was a 30 odd % position in here, that was possible to actually take advantage of. But I think the real big position is coming now, and that's the one I'm really going to gear up and get ready for. So if we just take, let's just say this little leg here, and then we replicate that, there's a possibility that we could even take that. Or I'm also looking at it from the low. Um, yep, there we go. And takes us into that override, and that's basically where I'm looking at price basically struggling, and then maybe we might even get this larger left shoulder, head, right shoulder. We don't really need to, this pair can commit, and when it commits, it's really, really good. So I'm looking for this larger flag right here. I'm not going to get caught up in this area here. I think there's going to be a lot of tension in this area here, so I'm going to let it do its thing. I'm going to let it push out, correct, do whatever it has to do, and then when it gets that commitment and we see it push back in, I'll look for that first flag and I'll be in for the sell. But definitely have to be sharp and be aware that you could get tagged in and out in these areas. So for that pure reason, I'm not going to get too entertained with it, but also bearing in mind that we have an override zone just before the high, so we might even tap into that and then just commit, and the flag may be a little bit further down, which is not really a problem because we're trading the bigger move. So the bigger move is to down here. In terms of risk reward, I think the risk reward is it's definitely very, very good. So if I just take this reduced risk entry, and let's just say that, I mean, the flag won't be pretty much as large as this, but we can't tell. But let's just say that, there was no refinement. It was taken at 34 pips, even to that low, you know. If we do make it all the way down here, that's 30% in itself, and that can go pretty quickly. If we look at this move here, that moved really, really quick. Let me just quickly get a time frame on that. So if we just take it from here to here, yeah, it's roughly around about a day. I don't, I don't think that's going to move in a day, but it just shows that there's a lot of potential with this particular pair. We do have this sort of bull flag sort of feel to it as well, with a slight trend squeeze. So I'll definitely be aware that we, that can even come up for another touch eventually. We might even get like a, sort of something like this. And then it just comes in over there, comes in back down here and goes back up. That's a possibility too, but there's more than enough room to manage it to hit, even with that 30 odd pip stop loss. You know, there. And even if we did, for those people who may actually catch the refinement, possibly I could as well. Who knows? It's about 30% to that low. To the override there, you got 34, and then over here, it's a heart attack. So, it's definitely really, really good for USD yen, and that's one of the main reasons why I've got it on watch. So, definitely got my eyes on that. I'm looking for the push down on the flag. Not going to be entertaining any risk entries because there'll be a lot of volatility in this area, and we can just trickle, and then have a phase line break, push, flag. So have to adjust as the market changes, but that's basically what I'm looking at. If we do commit and just start selling off, then I'll have to look for some detail within the price, and then look for something with inflection point, correction, hooks up, and then sells off. So something like down here. But if we get a push down, and then I'll look for it to come back up and then meet with a 1 2 3, and then that might be even better because we get an entry sooner than we expected. But this larger flag is more so something I'm looking at right now. So yeah, we'll give it time to materialize, and that's basic. The next one I'm looking at is Aussie Yen. Um, Aussie Yen is also quite similar to UJ. It only makes sense, but we are in this middle section. So, if we do see a strong impulse out, I might be more inclined to look at the next inflection point if there's a potential sell, or, actually making it to the higher time frame potential structure, which I'm seeing this as not the best, but, I think that this probably won't play out as a head and shoulders. It could, but more so probably push a bit further eventually. But at the moment, we're so far away from that. We could just see this happen. So we've got a structure within here where we kind of trickled, pushed down, created this larger flag. Now, it's not your most typical sort of entry, but I think with Aussie Yen and how corrective it is, kind of have to just read between the lines. So looking at this, I'm really seeing this as a 1 2 3 4 sort of section over here. We're correcting very much over here. If we get a push up and we tap into here and then we push down and create an obvious flag, I'll be looking to get in there. I think in terms of to this low at least, or even if we do kind of come into, let's say, tap into this override, I'm not sure the likelihood of us actually tapping into this 123. It's a possibility because this trend line isn't confirmed, so this is a non-confirmed trend, but the angle is a little bit, but then again, where do we draw the line in the sand? We haven't really got a confirmed sort of, this is the pattern that we're looking at. So possibilities, a lot of possibilities on the table, but I think more so I'm looking at I'm looking at price just kind of commit to there. So if I do a risk reward sort of, let's just see the risk reward on this. So once again, I don't think it's going to be around about, even so, that could be an interesting one. Let's say that let's just say that we take around about 15 pips on that. Probably not needed. You could probably squeeze in the 10, but yeah, even to the low, could be looking at roughly around about 8.257, and then to this low over here about 12% as well in itself. And I think for what it is, I think that commitment could definitely be there because of how it's correcting, but I would like to see it just kind of push out and push back in more so than just kind of correct there and then we get a push down, and that then I might reevaluate and not get involved in this particular zone. But I'm looking for that impulse up, the impulse back down, and that hence the reason I've on the lower time frames, not that I will take this flag at all, but we've got this sort of bull flag, gets a push out, creates a smaller flag, pushes all the way up, and then we get a push down, flag commitment, and then I'm in for the trade I'm looking for. The reason why I'm not getting into that is because I'm not interested in entertaining a trade here to get to this high. I'm also interested in the bigger picture, which if this plays out, it's going to be a lot more financially rewarding, better to play out, and it's going to be a whole new leg in itself rather than starting with this massive corrective move. But that is irrelevant compared to this bigger picture. So it's just a counter trend play to the larger picture. But by the time we get here, we could be, beginning of next year. So that's basically gameplay for Aussie Yen. And next one I'm going to be looking at is CAD Yen. Now, CAD Yen is also one that I thought, it's not the best of pairs in terms of the other yen pairs. However, structurally, it's not exactly the worst because how I'm seeing this, right, is we've basically got this larger range at the moment, okay, where we're kind of in this sort of area here. But more so, is there enough room to manage, and is there a lot of inflection points on the way? Not really. I think with the amount of data that's here, when this kind of just breaks these areas, they just commit and it goes to the inflection point. And I think, this is more financially satisfying than basically being aware of every single little hook point that could be on the way, because it gets a little bit more difficult to draw the line in the sand. So what I do like about it in terms of top-down analysis is we've basically tapped into, let's say that this is the major inflection point, this was the override, we broke past the override, we went to the hook point, M-star style, tapped into that, pushed back down, we even retested it with a mini near miss double top, and then we go down to the daily. As we can see, we scooped up, we pushed down, we created a flag, we pushed down, created another flag, and now we push down. Now, it's more than normal for us to see this just commit and see that impulse now, and then we don't get any flag here. But if I am going to be getting involved and looking at it how it's lining up with the other yen pairs, I have a good feeling that we might potentially see this shape up and then sell off. So I'm looking for more so two things. I'm looking at a flag in here, so a push down, one more touch up, flag. So touch 1, 2, nice little scoop, push down, nice little scoop, push up, and then push down, flag, let's go. If for any reason we get a lot of volatility in the market and we get a push up, then I'll be looking at the next inflection point and we tap into here and then we get a push down, or potentially we actually even push up further and we scoop and just tap into that before we push down, create a flag and go. But more so, then it will just be this extension, flag will stay in the same area and it will be more low, so like that. Which isn't uncommon for yen pairs. They do commit and then you don't usually get a flag so early, like right at the top. It's not always the case. So, being aware that, don't feel any FOMO at all when, we start getting this drop off, because then there'll be an opportunity soon after. And I think if I go to the 15-minute, you'll see as well, like many a times we've seen when you get these drop offs, you get this sort of little correction over here, um, which I don't know if there was any sort of opportunity. I mean, I wouldn't have really probably entertained this on an AFT really. I would have waited for something more 15-minute style, but there's always opportunity. I think over here there was maybe something with refinement, but it would have been a tag out break even more so, or maybe a small profit and then pushed up, tapped in, pushed back down. Yeah, it's not always the easiest to catch entries, but it's one to definitely keep on board, because I think a lot of profit is made on yen pairs. Over the past 2 months now, I've been backtesting yen pairs in different units of time, and I think definitely a lot of confidence in there. New Zealand yen as well, especially extremely fun pair to trade. I think it's just understanding when to be in and out of the market for these yen pairs. That's the key, and it's really interesting to know what you're being in the market for and what you're actually looking for. So yeah, that's basically me covering the yen pairs now. As you can tell, my perspective on yen pairs has changed, taken a whole 180 essentially. Because where I started, I was so kind of like getting taken out of the market a lot by it, but now I've come in with this new level of confidence, this new level of insight, and definitely the backtesting did help me with that. But the live market experience as well, I would have not been able to realize that I need to go back and what I'm actually going on to the back testing stage for. I had to go on the live market, get hit, get burnt quite a bit, and then realize I want to be better at this pair. This is what the area I want to be better in. This is where I'm getting damage. And then that's where I understood what I can do to mitigate that risk. So that's it for yen pairs. I'm going to move on to US. And yeah, so USD CAD is looking good. Honestly, man, my favorite pair. I think it's been my favorite pair for quite some time now. Um, I think it all started probably beginning some point first quarter, second quarter of this year. I think I've just banked so much percentage on it, and it's just one of them pairs. I think it just sticks with you. So yeah, so at the moment I'm kind of forecasting this 1, 2, 3 larger Falcon flag style sort of pattern. I'll just go top down analysis quickly before I jump into that. So I'm seeing this as one larger range, not the most important, but we have a near miss to this high, and then to the low we have an obvious near miss. This one is more obvious than this one, and I think there's a potential that we can gravitate to this low before we even come back up here. So that's something I'm very interested in, but we can create a larger flag and then just push. We don't have to fill that in because we did tap into a mini override before the override, which is still as valid, but it does, yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to fill that. It's a place that it could gravitate to. Now, going on to the daily and seeing how prices, this isn't the sort of price action that is usually the most progressive. However, it can just find momentum and push up, but it will give us a clue that we are probably going to gravitate back lower. Now, if we do gravitate low and then start moving up quite aggressively, that's a different situation. We could be moving into that final leg, that impulsive leg that we want. So what I'm looking at right now is price is moving down with this head and shoulders feel to it. So if I put it onto the line chart, we can see it a little bit more clear. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, push down. Now we're looking at that continuation. So we have that impulse, continuation, and then, impulse, correction, and then continuation. So what I do want to see now is more so this. I would like to see this leg sort of replicate itself either from this high, but more so, I think if it does tap into that, then we could tap in here. But even more interesting, if we do tap in, let's say from the break, we could tap into this section here, which I think is quite an interesting play because it leaves us with 2 key points. This point over here, which, okay, it's not really the most relevant to get it perfect, but and this point over here. So these are the 2 sort of zones that I'm kind of eyeing up, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it because if this plays out, it's going to be a mega trade, and it could be one to definitely, especially because I'm trading 0.2%, it could definitely be one to be holding a little bit longer term. So that would be quite an interesting one to manage as well. See a lot of larger flags in here and stuff to just kind of play around that and stuff. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. Definitely if I'm taking a risk entry, but if I'm looking at a reduced risk entry, it's still completely fine. It's not something that's really out of my sort of reach. Even to this low, let's say that the low was over here, we've got about 6%, 7%. To this low, 10. To the low of the flag, we've got about 14, call it about 12 to the 90% rule. And then to this first low, 26. And remember, this is not even AFT. And then this is 38. So mega, mega. Now, if I say, let's just say that we take an AFT trade and call it around about 11 pips. Or let's say 10, just because I can see that's the golden number around the tables at the moment. We're looking at 54, yeah, and just another heart attack number. So it's really interesting that trading can give people heart attacks. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, this is something really good. I think this forecast is going to be major. We've got a 1, 2, 3 structured approach, middle section, double top, mini double top, meeting with an override off a larger structure, third touch, 1, 2, 3, straight up. Risk entry could definitely be there, but I'm going to be patient. I'm going to wait for the push down and the flag. So that's the gameplay I've got for USD CAD. I think USD CAD is going to be mega. Definitely golden pair for next week. USD Yen and USD CAD. Oh, honestly, can't wait to get into USD 30 and silver though. So yeah, that's basically it for this pair. And I'm just going to jump on USD 30. Now, this one's a little bit of a forecast one. I think it's a proper forecast. Like, it's only about proper forecasts here. Okay, no, seriously, it's the one thing I'm looking at is I want to see this kind of push out, really start convincing people that, oh, okay, maybe we're wrong. Maybe the the USD 30 is going to be buying, and then people start wanting to, get out of their short positions or get tapped out. Completely fine. Then I want to see a solid push back in, create a small flag, meet with this, um, create a mini head and shoulders before we actually go down and create a larger head and shoulders and go. So it's going to be again something very interesting. I think this could be a phenomenal long-term play. However, with the momentum I'm seeing to the upside, it's not really giving me any of that solid, we're going to be shortened, but I can see it exhausting ever so slightly. But it's just strong impulsive candles at the moment, and there isn't really a sign of this sort of unless I go to the daily, I can see it's kind of just slowing down. It's not the really most impulsive progressive price action, but it is impulsive. Definitely, I'd say that this has been very, very aggressively going to this zone here. There's no sort of guarantee as such that this is going to just sell off here. I think that this could just go for another week, 2 weeks, and then come down. So, it's one that I've definitely got on watch, and I'm mindful that it could take longer to shape up than I expect. However, if it does shape up, I want to be very much ready. So I may not take a trade this week on it, but it'll be one that I'm definitely going to be monitoring very, very carefully to make sure that I can take advantage of it if it does shape up. So yeah, so just definitely looking at that push up. If we do just suddenly just start selling off, then I'll look for a flag somewhere down there, more so than up here. Just because we didn't quite meet the 1, 2, 3, which I know is not always necessary, but I would like to see a strong, aggressive momentum to the downside before I even get involved. So that's basically it for you. Then I've got the final watch list. I mean, to be fair, all my pairs are basically feeling like a watch list, but silver. Silver is looking great, honestly. Now, previously I missed the short. Well, I didn't miss it actually. I tapped into the short. I actually got it in here, and then I think I got tapped out for a break even. Unfortunately, it is what it is. Unfortunately, it happens, but sometimes it happens for better reasons. And I think I'm going to get into a much better trade now, which is always the optimistic way. So we basically got a smaller flag forming in here. Right, we've got an impulse up, very nice little progressive push. Momentum wise, I like it. We could be moving up to even up here, to be honest. I think silver's got a massive play ahead of it now. Looking at how price action is formed, we've got a nice little middle section in here. The middle section is not the best of shapes, but it's there. Perhaps maybe I could just just tweak that in there, make it a little bit more clear. But yeah, so that's basically the middle section I'm looking at. And yeah, so we had that push up, that push down, and now we're in that sort of continuation phase to the upside. I'm looking for this correction. So I'm looking for at least giving us a larger flag, because we haven't really had a clean 15-minute flag since we've actually had that push. So this would be the first flag, which is usually the highest probability flag. I'm looking for that first flag to the upside. So that's one of the reasons why I've got silver on watch. Will it shape up? I think it's going to shape up probably, let's just say, this is weird. It's telling me, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so, just gonna have to wait, just see how it shapes up. Could be some gapping in the market, who knows? Maybe give us a clue. Just gotta wait. So I'm looking for something like this. Shapes up maybe by Monday London session. It might even just be on the verge of just creating that second bottom, and then I'm not looking for quick momentum movement. I'm looking for slow sort of build up in price before we go. So silver is going to be a tricky, easy one. Tricky in the sense that let's see how it shapes up, if it's going to be an expanding or if it's going to be a nice, clean, smaller, flat flag. If it becomes something a little bit larger, not too bothered. Just means I have to be a little bit more patient, but when it shapes up, it shapes up. There's going to be some inflection points on the way as well that I have to be wary of, because if we do tap into that, we could pull back and create something larger because of how big the impulse is. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we do tap into a inflection point, but I would be more interested if we can get some impulsive moves. Something like this would be a little bit off-putting if we had price action like that, because to be honest, I don't want to come out of an impulsive move and then we tap into this. So sometimes I think when we tap into these areas, getting a little bit more aggressive with management is probably the best way to approach it, and that's probably how I'll be looking at it. So yeah, so that's basically it for silver. I'll jump into, all right, amazing. So wildcards. So with the wildcards, they're a little bit ones where I've kind of forecasted a little bit ahead of time, which is normal, but I'm expecting to see a lot. So when I say that is, I'm basically forecasting it to push all the way up, commit all the way back down, and then kind of go sideways. So yeah, I mean, look, the truth is, if it's going to go up there and it's going to be coming back down, there's probably going to be a nice little flag in there. That is most probably where I'll be looking for the entry. So ideally, I'm looking for that strong push up, that push back down, and a flag. The only thing that could potentially be dangerous at this point is there's no confirmation of any sort of any potential flag forming. We don't know if this is going to be a 1, 2, 3. So definitely management has to be on the ball with these sort of entries. But more so, I'm looking for this head and shoulders. That's what I said. It's not the best of pairs, but the reason why it's a wild card is because I'll be more than happy to miss this pair if one of my other pairs does shape up, and then wait for the commitment. And then if we get it late in the week and we break this, so we've done all this and then we break it, I'll be looking for a potential flag down here. And I think that is also going to be a phenomenal entry. So, it's basically two ways I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it either here or I'm looking at it down here. And that's the lower probability trade, that's the higher probability. This would also be my line in the sand. So yeah, so that's basically it really. Like I said, there's no guarantee with this how it could play out, but two ways. So we've got the head and shoulders in the background, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Then we've got the override where we could tap into the override, push down, create the flag, which basically just brings this into here, and then we just tap in like that, and then we take that in. But more so, I'm looking for that impulsive push up, push down flag. Yeah, it's New Zealand CAD. I mean, looking at USD CAD, seeing that strong push up, I wouldn't be surprised. So even if this was to go all the way up here before it comes down, cool. It is what it is. But yeah, so just gonna basically be on my management game there. So yeah, that's basically it for New Euro USD. Strong push down, push back up. That's what I'm looking for. Simple, nice and easy. Unfortunately, with the DXY, well, I wouldn't say it's unfortunate, but we could just completely miss this one. It's a strong possibility. I'm looking this to actually just fill this, push back down, maybe even push up higher. Not too bothered, like I said. But Euro USD wise, similar. If I just invert this and we look at it, I'm looking for this to kind of just push up and push back down. We might even get a 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of situation. Not bothered, honestly, really not bothered. I just want to see us kind of feel this and kind of commit. So will we create something here? I don't know, but more so interested in this sort of value area. And if we do kind of commit, come back up, create a flag, we go, that's where I'm looking to enter the market. Worst case scenario, we continue pushing, we get to this value zone, and then we go create something with 2 bottoms, and then we create the 2 tops, kind of push, and then see what happens from there. But that's Euro USD. So I've got it on there. I think, like I said last week, it's definitely a very prime pair to have on board. I think, with the way the DXY is shaping up and the potential for it to commit so much, it'd be insane for me not to be looking at the Euro USD or gold right now. So Euro GBP. Euro GBP is one that I am interested to see. It's quite similar to New Zealand CAD in the sense that I'm looking for that push down, push back up, and a flag. Exact same criteria. Line in the sand over here. We could see a flag in here. I won't entertain that flag, unfortunately, though. But I'll be more so interested to see the push up and a flag over here. So it is a bit of a later play. I don't know if it's going to be playing out as soon as I hope, but we'll have to wait and see, to be honest. So, right now we have 2 ways of looking at this. We have this sort of corrective sort of squeeze here, where, are we going to tap into this? And then once we tap into that, are we going to push back up, create a flag and go, right? It's one that I think I'm going to be monitoring very carefully because we're in such a good value area. We might even just tap into that push up, create a flag. So my forecast here can change quite a lot, to be honest. It can change quite a lot. So it's one that I think I've left as a wild card, but it's going to be one of my sort of keep a very close eye on wild card, because even though it's not ready right now, it can near up and get ready quick, especially if we get that strong commitment sell off and we get that push up and a flag. We've got a bit of news coming out as well towards the end of this week. We've got inflation rate year on year flash, and then we've got unemployment rates coming out on the 1st of December, which is also next week. So on Thursday. So this could give us some strong commitment. So yeah, it's a little bit exciting, gives me a bit of goosebumps and that, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, once again, these are not really fully confirmed yet. Got to wait till price kind of primes, but in terms of downtrend, we are going to be moving to this low. We've moved pretty aggressively, even though we tapped into this mini double bottom. We're so close to the low, it would make more sense for us to just sell off now and just go get there. But if we do this, where we push in, we don't tap in there, we create a mini double bottom, then we push up, then I'd be looking at that. That's a bit a lot to ask for. So I'm not going to really wait for so much. I'm just going to basically look at it like this. If we tap into here before we get here, then I'll look for the push down, the flag, and then that's it. I'm looking for the go. I'll definitely opt in for this sell. I think that this sell is definitely high probability in my opinion, just because of how close we are to that low. We're going to gravitate there pretty quickly. So it'd be a very, very small term position. If I can cap in around about 10 pips on the small flag, that'd be interesting. And then we move there with a lot of aggression. That'd be interesting. I mean, there's at least 3% there. In terms of what I'm risking, I think because of how close we are, it's very interesting. If we gravitate all the way up here, it's even better. I'll be looking for the exact same thing in this area here. I might even be able to protect myself at some point when the flag forms. And then, yeah, literally with a 10 pip, I can even, if we do come in for this sort of completion, 8%, 6% to the low, and so forth. So definitely some possibilities on the table there. Going to have to be patient, but Euro GBP is looking good, looking stunning. Happy with that. GBP Swiss. It's been a while, to be honest, since I've had this pair on watch, but it's definitely been moving really well. So top-down analysis, having a look over here, we've basically broken this sort of major low bit from 2020. We pushed back up impulsively. We had a very steep correction and then we pulled back up, and now we're moving with aggression and gravitating higher. I'm looking for us to potentially fill the 90% of this, which I think we are doing right now. However, I think looking at it from here, if I take this from this point here to top there, this descending channel hasn't been filled completely to 90% rule. If we can complete this sort of flag here, there's a possibility we might even fill this completely or even push further. I think that this could form into a larger flag, absolutely. But I think before we do that, we have to look at it for what it is. And right now we are in a strong bull trend, and we're in a very, very good golden area on the higher time frame. So what I'm looking for is keeping it quite simple, is a push up, push back down, creating a 1-2-3 bottom. We may not even get that completely, but yeah, we have two bottoms, two tops right now. So in terms of the validity of this trade, it's actually ready to go. This trade is more than ready to go, but I will be looking for that 1-2-3. Only more so because I think at this point in time, I'm not too sure. I think, yeah, it's about 35. I mean, hmm. Do you know what? Even now, the trade could be taken, potentially 4%, maybe even 2.6% to the 90% rule. But yeah, about 4% on the table there could be taken. But I think I'll be looking to lock in around about here. Risk entry over here would be phenomenal, but it's not really in my plan anymore. So um, I'm not going to be taking that risk entry. I look for the push and a flag, but the push and a flag, I definitely look for that, try get that refinement in there. And if I can get that refinement, it's way better than both of them trades. I'm looking at 14% and even to this high 10%. So, and then further, of course. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, it's nice that now I know what I'm looking for. So we'll give it a chance and see how it goes. But GBP, and then I've got Euro Aussie. Euro Aussie is one I've been eyeing up for the past few weeks as well. It's really good. To be honest, we might tap into this low before we push up higher. Possible. I think I'm also now interested to see this kind of short all the way back down here to this high value area. There could be something in here that I need to kind of just look at this bull flag. But because of how corrective it is, I'm becoming a little bit more neutral as the weeks go on now. I'm also looking at it like this. So if we come down with aggression, I'm going to look at it, break the mass psychology, push low, push back up, create a flag, and then I'll be looking for the long run. I'm not too concerned about this sort of push because we came in from an impulse. We're creating a larger correction to only have a larger impulse. And then when I kind of look at it like this, and then I take in this forecast into consideration, it's it's definitely got some potential in there. And then we can't really say for sure where price is going to go, but it leaves us in a very good valuable area, especially if I take it from the high of this pattern. It pushes us back over here, mass psychology broken and so forth. Even to the top of the pattern, it brings us even further. So the long is definitely more in favor for myself, but a lot of data can change. If we do dramatically start selling off and then creating a large flag down here, then obviously you've got to take a message from the market. But more so, I'm quite interested to see if we tap into that low, push back up and have a flag. So regardless from wanting to see good buys from these areas here, I'm more than happy to wait for a later purchase. So it's a late week trade. I'm looking for some aggression, some sales. But as we know, later on this week, we're going to have the year-on-year flash inflation rate and employment rates. So Thursday might even be ready to correct into that and then get some volatility. And looking across the board for a lot of these euro pairs, they're all going to be in a prime area as well, which I do like. So that volatility might cause that spike we need to give it that push, and then we can look for the flag soon after that. If that's the case, if we do get the push and a flag, and then that just happens to line up within the impulsive leg, it is what it is. But yeah, that's basically sick. So last but not least is gold. Now, gold is one that I think I took some trades in maybe July. I definitely eyed up this one, I think, in March. I saw it. It was a near miss, and it was perfection. It's funny because when you see these major historical prices happen in time, it's one of those experiences that you just learn so much from, honestly. Like that full rejection, it could have been involved here. I mean, this would have been a long ass trade, but definitely, let's say I was involved in here. Um, I probably would have been out of the market within that time there. But yeah, that's 30 pips. That's quite a lot. Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential to be made in gold, especially when you get drilling, when you get granular. These flags over here, phenomenal, phenomenal, man. Honestly, like easily 10, 15% there. So to that high. So yeah, looking at this larger flag now, we've had a sort of impulsive move. It makes sense for us to take that sort of breath, like Ibby likes to say it. So I'm looking for that sort of correction and then go. So yeah, so corrective squeeze up, push down, and then push back up, flag, and let's go. That's basically what I'm looking for. I wouldn't opt in for a risk entry, unfortunately. It's not in my plan this week, but yeah, it's just keeping it quite simple. It might happen a lot quicker than I expect over here. This is not fully guaranteed as well. It's just 2 touches, so hence the reason this could just go off like that, and then we can change the angle. It can become something a little bit more steep. This could become a bear flag. We might get something like this where price ends up going like this. A lot of things can happen, but at the moment I'm going to keep it quite simple. Look for the 3 touch here and then adjust it as the week goes on. So that's basically my forecast for the upcoming week. It's looking really good. Hence the reason why it is a wild card. So basically these are the pairs I'm going to be looking at for the week ahead. And yeah, I think major lessons for last week are definitely the tweaks I've made. So, in terms of kind of going through the ASR and everything, I've come to the decision that 0.2% risk is definitely a lot better for the psychology and definitely for the longevity of being a trader. Um, and then reduction on trade, so limiting myself to taking 1 to 2 trades maximum, but this week I'll be taking 1 trade a day. And obviously not taking a trade is also a trade. So, making those informative decisions, and then kind of just keeping myself accountable and responsible for all the decisions. So that's something that I'll be doing this week, which is going to be somewhat, going to be a very, very positive challenge. And yeah, I'll I'll definitely keep those who are in contact updated. But yeah, thanks. Have a good week.